Hello, can you hear me? Hello, 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 hello. Ew. My throat is doing a really weird kind of like whistle thing. I was trying to like pretend that I knew like how to work computers because I was doing like this like overlay shit. It doesn't work like it should. Okay. Hey! Now my game's not working. God, I love life. Snow delay. Hey, and now it's like the wrong size. Lord Jesus. Hold on. Hello, are you working? Hello, are you working? It's a little bit. Hello, yes, hello. Don't mind me. Okay, let's go. I don't know how loud it is. Oh, you can't even hear the game, huh? Guess that would make a difference too. Alright, here we go. This, 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 this. We ready. No, but I hate Hag. Okay, I hate Hag too. Is it Hag? Because that would really suck if it was Hag. 2 cakes, let's go! No, it's not. It was like Visage before it was like released, when it was like a concept or whatever. It's from a video game. Jenny, let's go! What is it? Freddy. He saw me. I didn't. He even like came back over here to kick the gen. Why didn't he run? Shit! Fucker. Sorry, cat. Fucking blood hug. Come on. This way. Thank you. We haven't worked any Jennies. There he is. Fuck. Did he see me? No. Kinda camping, but not really. Forget him, forget him. No! Got him. Okay. Fuck. What is this other dude doing? Has he been doing anything? Hemi. Go away. Okay, so now he's on the damn thing. Saw me. I should have used that pallet. Now it's taking me to the basement. Of course, dude. Of course, dude. Hey, you broke my water. Go on, set your little blood thing. Should I Kobe it? I'm gonna Kobe it. Nobody's coming for me. Let's be real. Oh! If I get caught right now, I'm gonna really fucking die. Like, seriously? Oh my god, the skill that is required to do that. I am a god. Failure. That dude over there's just chilling. He's like, oh, I hate the hag. I'm not gonna like participate the whole thing. It is over. Come and get me. Thank you. I'm not even going to fight you. You can take me to the basement. It is okay. Bad day. We don't stay in the chat because we don't want to know how bad we are. Did we pip? No, we did not. Continue. Let's go. So I have to move this somewhere. I can't really see the fucking. That's good. 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 Same place as it was before. Okay. This is bueno. Can't really see the game. Is that good? Yeah. Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god, I don't care. Okay. Let's go. I want to play killer. But I don't want them to BM me. I don't want to be bullied by survivors. I'm not using a green on a brown. I feel like I want sprint burst. What is this build? Okay, let's go. Let's go! Oh no, I don't want that. You know what's weird about streaming is that like you are much more aware of like your face than you normally are. Because you just feel like you're just conscious of like all your movements. Even like your movements when you're not doing anything that you think you're doing. Like the unconscious movements, I guess what they're called. You know, it's weird. Weird. Oh my god, who has the potato? Why is it taking so long to load in this? This le game. Here we go. Aw, freaking heck. Freaking heck. Oh fuck. Is he under me? Probably. Probably. I feel like everything on this map rattles. Like, literally. Everything. This map is sick, though. He's gonna see me wherever he is. Where is this generator? Like, really? Where is he? Does he literally have, like, heartbeat? You can hear him everywhere? Oh, he's just over here, chilling. Okay, well, it doesn't seem like he's moving, and I haven't seen him. So we'll just assume he's bot and take chances. I can't even find a generator. Like, what the hell is this? Oh, it's fucking Billy. Oh, it's a trapper, not Billy. Oh, fuck. Thought I could juke him. Oh, hi! Am I not wiggling properly? What's going on? Should I try and Kobe it again? Did I, like, use all my Kobe points last time? I'm gonna try and Kobe it again. One more time. 1, 2, 3. No. It's so funny to, like, just see, like, the types of killers that I go against and the type of killers that Mia goes against. And it's, like, clearly these are, like, brand new killers and I'm still dying in the freaking game. Oh, I'm so horrible at video. Well, it's funny. It's fun. That is how you learn games. Okay, we're just gonna farm blood points, I think, until we get to where we need to go. Hold on one second. I don't feel like I would need that one because I don't ever really do stuff like that when I'm hurt. Oh, fucking hell. Life. Do I want that? Yeah, I guess. Teachable. Bandage. 77, boy. Oh, fuck. Okay. Oh no, we don't want to go to this island. I thought for a second I wanted to go to this island, but we most definitely don't want to go to this island. I want a snack. Do you hear the mess on my desk? Oh my god. What is this? Let's do it. Everybody's so positive. See how many cakes? 1, 2. 2 cakes. Alright. I like this map. Let's get this one. It's a fucking nurse, isn't it? Yes. God damn it. What is that person's name? Juicy Clit? Fat Juicy Clit. Nice. That's very charming. You wish you could play games? If you can, you can play games with me if you want. If you have the means to play games. Hi, Hi, Queen Spucker. How are you? I love you. Shit. You bitch. I didn't even see her. She's coming from Hell Cargo. Ew, you're scary. You scary lady. You like kind of get a feel of like how the game's gonna go. She's camping me anyway. If she's gonna camp me, I might as well just fucking try and cozy off. We don't got time for this. We have to get out and move to the next game. Oh my gosh. 77 blood points. Holy heck. That's good to hear, Spooky, that you're doing good. Might as well not even take anything since we haven't even been winning anyway. Let's go. If I keep losing, then I'll just like jump to stories. I don't even care. Elf, I know. I don't know where he's at. He's probably asleep. Okay, let's go. This will decide it. I'm sleepy. It rained earlier, so it was like one of those 5-minute thunderstorms, but it was awesome. These loading screens kill me. The hag. Bitch. Don't fucking do it there. What are you doing? Are you AFK? Like... Oh, there's somebody running behind me. Oh my god, what is happening? Oh my god, what is happening? Metal Gear is fun. Where am I going? Where am I going still? You better be fucking restoring yourself. You didn't restore yourself this whole time? Are you serious? Oh my god. Okay, you can go then. We must go. Is she even drawing traps? I feel like she's not drawing traps. Oh shit! Really? Here's the thing, heal yourself. Fucking hell. I think they have Dead by Daylight on mobile. Queen. We're all fucked up. Damn hag. Alright, let's do this. We haven't even got any gens, have we? Oh, we got one. Just let himself die. Oh, he fucking ulted forward. What a dick, dude. Saving the day as best as I can. That person just they're bots. Like, I think they're bots, I swear. Unless he Kobe. He's gonna try again. See? Oh my god. No, that was my fault. Oh fuck. I hate this game. I'm not even gonna wiggle. Are you gonna come and get me, or are you just not? Where are you going? Are you gonna take me to the basement to BM? Oh, you're gonna take me up here to BM. Oh, okay. I got you. I miss playing the hack. She's fun to play. We're gonna Kobe. We're gonna do it. I'm gonna die for that guy, 'cause who knows? Who knows? We're giving up for the day, Queen. I was in like a major losing streak. Yes, I would like to quit the game. Okay. I found some really good stories actually. I was also like reading stories about stalkers. My cousin had a stalker once. It was nuts. He was like he was like crazy, but he was stupid at the same time. So it was like it probably shouldn't have been, but it was kind of humorous at the time, just because of the stuff that he did. But she always had stalkers because of all this craporama. Can you hear me fine? I have a audio error or something. Has more than 2 channels. What does that mean? Audio. Stereo. Did I fix it? Hey Queen, can you hear me good? Or no? Do I sound weird? Let me see. This might feedback a little. No, I don't sound weird. Okay. Cool. So, the first story that I heard or read, it's kind of long. It's kind of gross, I guess. Okay, cool. So this one is called, it's from No Sleep. It's by Namisu. Namisu? It's called The Holes in the Roof of My Mouth. Oh my god, this is already gonna go all jacked up. I can tell. Let's get some water. Okay, ready? Lying in bed, tonguing the roof of my mouth, it felt something odd. Little indentations swinging off the blankets. I paddled to the bedroom mirror. I tilted my head back and opened my mouth wide. What I saw stole my breath. A cluster of holes, over a dozen, across the roof of my mouth. A panicked garble emanated, holy shit, learn to read, from me as I stepped closer to the mirror. The holes varied in size and were distorted, as if stretched in all directions. Each tiny pink opening, coated with saliva, rose into my head, but no matter how far I craned back, I couldn't see the end. There was only darkness. My hands trembled, my heart constricted. What the hell are they? I thought. Groggy, Mark came into the bathroom. Everything okay? When he finally absorbed my shaken state, he held me by the arms and asked what was wrong. Look, I said, and I opened my mouth. With the light of his phone, he crouched so he could stare up at it. He gasped. Oh my god. Holy shit. Tears squeezed from the corners of my eyes. What are they? I said, my voice shrill. He came closer to my mouth, held in the light still, his brow bent in concentration. Mark, what are they? Hold still. For some long moments he inspected the holes, and then he finally said, "We're going to the hospital." "What?" "You need a doctor." "Mark, stop it. You're scaring me." "I don't know what they are, but it's bad." "What do you mean bad? What did you see?" "The same thing you'll see. Holes. They're deep, and they're going right into your skull. I can't even see the end." My head went light. The floor tilted. "It's okay." Mark caught me in a hug. "The doctor will know what to do." After waiting 3 hours at a walk-in clinic, I found myself sitting on a bed with a sore jaw from keeping it open for a long time. Long time. And an old withered man with a bloodless face and pashy whips of hair who proceeded at the holes with a long swab. I shut my mouth, feeling a cool wave of relief. "You don't have coverage, is that right?" he asked, snapping gloves off, revealing limp hands, which looked as dead as the rest of them. "My job doesn't give me coverage, and Mark, I'm in between jobs," Mark said. Eyes half closed, the doctor slowly nodded. "I need to send these samples to a specialist, but without insurance," he sighed again. I asked how much it would be, and when he told us, Mark and I looked at each other with a downturned face. "You have no idea what's going on?" Mark asked the doctor. "Not without tests." Then he turned to me. "Are they giving you any pain?" I shook my head. "Then I'd wait until you have enough money," the old man said coldly, "or until you get coverage. I can recommend a good plan." He lifted the brochure from a plastic stand on the desk, opened it, and inspected it. But with his pen, he circled something. "This one is good for you youngsters," he said, handing it to me. "Wait," Mark said. "Isn't this bad? I mean, they're holes." Staring at the brochure, I suddenly felt embarrassed. Once my internship is over, I'll get a real job, one with coverage, and we won't have to go through this again, I thought. "If they're not causing discomfort," the doctor said, trailing off. Red-faced, Mark rubbed his forehead and grabbed his hands and stood up. The matter was settled. Over the next week, I did my best to ignore them, like the doctor said. There was no discomfort. Occasionally food got jammed in the holes, but I'd just lick it out. For a couple of days, I lived life as normal, and I nearly forgot about them. Sitting at the kitchen table of our one-bedroom apartment, Mark spent the morning searching for job ads on his phone while I got ready for work. Slipping my coat on, I walked into the kitchen and gently lifted Mark's chin with my fingers for a kiss. My mouth met his, and I held his head in my hands, and we encircled tongues together inside our mouths. Inside my gums, something moved. A wet lump. It wiggled and fell past my lips and into Mark's mouth. Mark jerked away quickly and coughed. I stepped back, pressing my hands to my lips. The coughing worsened, jolting his body. Then something red flew from his mouth and spattered onto the table. In the center of the crimson splat, a tiny white crescent curled in on itself. A maggot. As its segmented body reeled in the membrane of saliva as if it was in pain. Turning blue, Mark winced in horror, staring at the bug. "Oh my God," I cried, running into the bathroom, shutting the door, gripping the sink with both hands. I opened my mouth and checked the holes. Maggots were half curled out, squirming, dripping with translucent mucus. I screamed. "Babe?" Mark's panicked voice came from the other side of the door. The knob turned, but I'd locked it. "Are you okay?" "Go away," I cried, and lowered myself into the bathroom. Maggots fell down my throat, forcing me to cough violently. They were too deep. I couldn't dislodge them, so I swallowed. My stomach felt like a coil of barbed wire being unraveled. A bubble of acid shot up my throat. I bent over and let a spray of yellow puke leave my mouth to splatter across the table, or the tub. Well, not the table, the tub. Maggots writhed in their bile. I let out a long, guttural wail as my mind splintered into pieces. A deformed crosshatch of openings that had formed throughout my mouth. I could feel the maggots moving, sliding from hole to hole. It dulled my senses, and they fell out constantly, out my nose, out my mouth, and now, as I watched my pale face in the mirror, small maggots curled out of the corners of my bloodshot eyes, sticky with pink mucus. So, okay, wait. Is this like sometime later? Are they like literally waiting to like get money despite she's got like maggots falling out of her face? Like, what's going on here? They're coming out of her eyes? Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Anyway, they were coming out of her eyes. Behind me, Mark sat on the edge of the tub as it filled with hot water. You really think this will work? He asked weakly. I don't know, I said. I looked up online how to kill maggots, and drowning was one way. I figured if they began suffocating, they'd evacuate my head, and I'd be rid of them. Whether it worked or not, I had to try something, and quickly. Mentally, I wasn't functioning right. I couldn't focus. My senses were deadened. My senses were deadened by the acidic smell. My nasal cavity was clogged with the bulbous little bodies moving over one another. I wondered if they were eating my flesh, which explained my dumbstruck state. Maggots were known to gorge on living tissue. If I didn't get them out soon, I'd die. Actually, maggots gorge on dead tissue, but we'll look over that. Okay, it's full, said Mark, turning the faucet closed. Without hesitation, I lowered myself into the steaming tub. Mark, I could tell, was doing his best not to puke, scrunching his face, avoiding the sight of me. Easing in, I submerged my head into the scalding water. At first, nothing happened. Then the inside of my head stirred, and like a balloon being deflated with blood, a tremendous pressure rose in my skull, and I clenched the sides of the tub, bared my teeth, and shut my eyes. Air blew out of my nose, and with it a dozen maggots, maybe more. Craning my head back, holding my breath, I closed my eyes wide, and I could tell I can let hundreds float away. The pressure in my skull gradually diminished as more maggots evacuated my body, until the surface above became a swirl of larvae. My lungs burned, but more were dislodging. Some must have dislodged from deep inside me, because they emerged coated with blobs of thick gunk. The taste of iron coated my mouth and nose. My chest jolted, my lungs screamed. Finally, I pulled myself up, and gasping, I jumped from the tub into Mark's arms. Naked and trembling, I folded myself into him. I felt like a new person. A week passed without a single wiggling tear to be seen. My head felt whole, my skin regained its color, and my sense of smell returned. The holes were healing, and I could eat normally again. The maggots were gone. But the great thing was, today, Mark had an interview, and he bagged the job so I could quit my crappy convenience store one and get an unpaid internship full time. Mark was nervous, but he had the right experience. I knew he'd get it. The sound of my alarm severed my thoughts. I set it for Mark so he wouldn't be late for his interview, that he was still in the shower. He'd been in there a long time. He doesn't want to go, I thought, knocking on the door. I called his name. No reply, just the sound of hard water. Then came a low cry. Mark! I yelled. I rushed inside. What I saw sent me back into shock. Mark was collapsed, face down in the tub, hot water cascading over his body. Head turned to one side. His eyes were solid and vacant. From his ear a huge maggot emerged, the thickness of a thumb. Squirming free, it fed on a chunk of flesh held in his blood-tipped mandibles. I don't know, like this, I don't know. It's kind of hard to read, to be honest. I don't know if it was like the way that it was written. I see that where they were going with it. Bed sheets is probably the most horrible fucking story I've ever read. Bed sheets is awful. Oh god. This one was okay. Let me see. Alright, let's see. Let's read this one. This one's about the scorpion ritual. Okay, I found it. Let's do it. Okay, this is the scorpion ritual. The scorpion tail ritual is a dark and possibly dangerous ritual that is said in some cultures to bring back the dead. Forethought. Please note that this ritual may fail, and if it does, then the revival will be unsuccessful and the ritual must be repeated. I do not know if you will have to do this ritual within a week of the death of a person, so if you dawdle, then you may not have time. Also note that if you live in a certain part of the world, scorpions may be difficult to obtain. There are no exceptions. Also note that the scorpion must be alive for the ritual to work. What we need, and these are the ingredients, is one body. The body must not be embalmed. If possible, steal it before burial services are attempted, or better, kill it yourself. A large scorpion. Any from the Butheidae genus will work. The reason that a large scorpion is required is not due to the venom, but due to the stinger's function. 1 bottle of acid. Anything with a pH under 3. It should be noted that the acid is too strong, it may burn through the body or harm you. 1 alcoholic beverage. This is used to both counteract the acid and as a drink. If you are underage or refuse to drink, then you do not have to drink any. However, you should still bring the beverage. 1 gallon jug full of any flammable liquid. Note, the liquid should not be explosive. If it is, then there's a very high chance of your death. Very high, say like 90, 98, 97, depending. The jug will be a simple milk jug or a designated jug for the liquid. The exact amount doesn't matter, but you should only take 1 container. Primitive lighting method, flint and steel, fire drill, or anything that does not involve an advanced lighting method. Matches are not allowed. Damn, you need hella stuff for this scorpion ritual. Okay, I'm almost done. 1 spear. This can be flint, stone, or simply sharpened wood. You must make it yourself. This will not only be for self-defense, but for the ritual. You may not use iron or metal. Wrapping the spear in a flammable object is allowed, but it may bring more problems than it solves. And these two are optional. Tinder. The fire will be hard to light with such primitive methods. Black powder, dried leaves, or anything will work. There are no limitations. Be sure to use all of it, and remember that nothing electric can be used. A torch or a lantern. You may use an oil lantern to find your way around the dark. Electric lanterns or flashlights are not allowed. The oil can also be used as tinder, but the lantern cannot light the fire. Okay. Here are the warnings. Anything that runs on electricity is strictly forbidden when doing this ritual. All phones, electronic devices, flashlights, or any other machine will not work. This includes cars, anything running on that inside of the 1 mile radius. That noise that you hear back there is my cat playing at the worst time. But I love him, so I will let him play. Where was I? Oh yeah, so you're not supposed to have any electric stuff within 1 mile. An abandoned house or abandoned farmhouse may make a great place, but it must have zero electronic appliances. Gas may work, however there have been cases where it doesn't, and this still applies even if the appliances are useless. You may, however, keep a car outside of the radius in case something does go wrong, allowing you instant escape. As many people as you may like may watch the ritual, however, only one person may stand inside the ring of fire and do the ritual. Also, the more people who watch the ritual, the more who may be in danger if it's done incorrectly. All watchers must follow the rules of the ritual, which means no cellular or electric devices on them either. Extra weapons are not allowed for you or anyone assisting in the ritual. Only one person may have the spear and nothing else may be used. Oh my god, Marble, really? Where was I? Electronic devices, no, not for anybody. Only one person may have this spear and nothing else may be used. Makeshift items such as sticks or branches that you will find within the mile radius may be used in a pinch. Oh my god. How are we gonna do this ritual, Queen? You need like literally a body. Where are we gonna get a body from? An embalmed body. Don't answer that. I don't want to know. Don't answer that. Okay. Here's this weird thing. Step 1. Collect the body. The body must have died less than a week earlier and cannot be preserved in any way. This excludes lime and other materials to reduce the smell. These are allowed. The cause of death can be anything as long as most of the body is intact. A missing limb or two is allowed. The age and gender of the person is unimportant. Find the spot to do the ritual. Remember the limitations before. You may bring the body to the car. You may bring the body to the area of the car, but the car must be taken at least a mile away afterwards. It would be much easier to simply take the body by the wagon, but as these do not break the rules. Take the body by a wagon, because you can't use the car, right? Step 3. Take all supplies and set them down. Do not light the lantern if you brought one. And take the flammable liquid. Create a circle around yourself and the body. Do not light it yet. Be sure that you have the scorpion in a jar if you can, and the acid in a separate jar. Make sure the spear is nearby, if possible slung behind your back using a holster. Step 4. Take 1 sip of the drink. Do not drink too much. Toast the drink to the sky. Do not say anything. Smile. It will make him happier. This is optional. If you do not want to drink, you can skip this step. Lay the body out, palms up, and hands rested to the heart of a cup. Hands rested on the heart in a cup. Release the scorpion into the cupped hands of the body, then pour the rest of the alcoholic drink into the hands of the body. It does not matter if it spills out. It's just most of the drink is pulled. Step 6. If the scorpion has crawled out, reposition it. Then, using your spear, likely poke an area in the hands of the body. If you do it right, the scorpion will instinctively sting the hand. You must keep going until the scorpion stings once. If you must, forcing the sting using your hands, but be careful. Step 7. Light the fire. This may be a difficult process, made more difficult by the fact that the scorpion can't move from the cupped hands of the body. If you would like, you can do this before you release the scorpion, but it's suggested the other way around. As soon as the fire lights, stand back. Do not allow the fire to touch the body. Let it surround you completely. Beware of asphyxiation by smoke. As soon as the fire has completely surrounded you, immediately pour the acid directly onto the scorpion. This will kill the scorpion and likely counteract the alcohol. Wait. Keep standing. Do not sit. Do not attempt to leave the circle. If you have any friends, this will be the last chance for them to leave until the revival has begun. After a few moments, the area that you dropped the acid will pull black. Hey, thank you! For bedtime stories, yes. We're doing these bedtime stories. We're doing this ritual right now. You missed a really gross one. It was about like maggots and stuff, and it was like written really weird. I appreciate the $2. Where was I? Step 9, Queen. After a few moments, the area you dropped the acid will pull black. At this moment, you must take the spear and stab it into the area the liquid has originated from. If you have trouble identifying the origin, stab multiple places. Step 10. As soon as you do this, the corpse will suddenly shake. Pull the spear back. The corpse will begin as it does. The fire surrounding you will lower. The moment the corpse is on its feet, the fire will die, leaving you in the dark. Run. As soon as the corpse has risen, you will gain full control of his body. The dead do not like being woken, and they will likely attack. You may attempt to fight it, but the only way to kill the beast is a direct hit onto the area where the poison was placed. The place where the scorpion stung. It will continue to bleed back slowly. If you get a direct hit, you penetrate the area. You may be able to kill the beast. However, with such a primitive and flimsy weapon, you'll have extreme difficulty doing this. There are 2 other ways to escape the dead. The first is to simply leave a mile radius and escape. The body will be able to leave the radius, however, as it's not a barrier for him to. It will likely chase you for the rest of your life until it's ended or until you're ended. The second is to hide. The dead fear of the light is the last thing they saw when they died. Fire will likely not scare them. However, sunlight may. If you can hide the rest of the night, a good idea would be to find a ritual less than an hour before sunrise. Do remember that if the sun rises at all during the ritual, it will not work. Then you might be able to scare off the beast. Attacking the monster is not suggested at this time unless you can possibly kill the body within a minute of reanimation. The longer they are alive, the angrier they will be at being alive. The dead are also known to be physically weak, but fast and able to regenerate small wounds. If you have any friends who watch the ritual, be sure to account for them the next day. Even though they did not help you bring back the body, The body may still show rage to them. Anyone who is not found by the next day will likely have been killed. The reanimated are known to show cannibalistic properties, oftentimes violently ripping apart their victims. There's some stories of, although rare, the people killed by the dead being given the same curse and coming back to life themselves. They will assist in the hunt for you. If one of your friends is wounded but comes back from the ritual, they may in fact be a slave to the body you brought back, and they will attack you in secret. One last thing. If you happen to feel an odd fear of arachnids after the ritual, immediate suicide is suggested. Oh my god, trigger warning, I'm so sorry. So that one is the scorpion ritual. That was suggested by Queen. Let's see. Here's a story about a national park. I've never read this story, but it's kind of long. It looks kind of cool. Okay, tell me if you hear me. Is that good? Yeah, okay. This story is called Maybe the National Parks Aren't Just There to Preserve Nature. He's not far now. Our guide indicated some unseen sign at the base of a nearby pine tree. I nodded my head knowingly and did my best to give the impression that I cared deeply about catching up to the elk. I didn't much like the outdoors anymore, but in grad school, trying to stand out, I'd made the mistake of putting hiking and exploring the national parks in my interest section of the resume. Much to my chagrin, the inclusion that labeled me an outdoorsy guy at my job, and when my boss Owen invited me to join a group for a team building retreat to a hunting lodge in Wyoming, I didn't dare decline. So I found myself hefting a hunting rifle through the Wyoming woods in a light October snow and wanting very badly to return to my cabin. What'd you see? Owen's question snapped me out from the rumination. Tracks, the guide responded. Pretty fresh. My boss lit up with a wide smile, eager, no doubt, to return to our group with a trophy. How far do you think he is? Can't say for sure. The guide looked off in the distance. Close enough so that we'll keep going on foot. I looked longingly back to the gray pickup truck we'd left behind. Owen, several years older, had decidedly soft around the middle, looked equally despondent. We continued through the trees, quiet for a few moments until Owen's warm baritone broke the silence again. So, you been out here long? The guide chuckled, and deep wrinkles gathered around his eyes. I used to be a ranger, spent 20 years in the parks, including Yellowstone. Retired a few years back, and I've been leading trips to Stone Creek ever since. At the guide's mention of our hunting lodge, I thought again of my sumptuously appointed cabin. Anything in my face must have betrayed me, because when the guide turned back to us, he shot me a sort of indulgent look that outdoorsy, working types often give inside city folks. How about you boys? Spend much time out this way? Yep, I shot back, mildly offended by his look. My dad was a ranger. I spent a lot of time in the parks as a kid. The guide paused and seemed to reevaluate for a moment. He stared at me as if searching my features, but just as he opened his mouth to speak, Owen interjected with another question. I hear some spooky stories coming out from the parks. My boss looked expectantly at our guide. People going missing, that sort of thing. Did you ever see anything strange out there? My stomach dropped. A coyote with two snouts flashed through my mind. I tried to keep a neutral expression, though, and the ranger saved me by answering quickly. Oh, sure. You see all kinds of strange things. kids turn up miles from their parents in places they couldn't have gotten on their own. Hikers hear impossible sounds coming from the trees, that sort of thing. The parks are big enough, though, and there's a lot of them, so just statistically, some odd stuff is going to happen out there. We waved his hand in his final dismissal in a nothing to see here gesture, but as he looked from me to Owen, he paused for a moment on my face and we locked eyes. I knew then that he was lying, and he knew that I knew, and we shared a brief moment of silent understanding that stretched on until Owen interjected again. Huh? Your dad ever tell you about any of that? He looked at me unexpectedly, and I tried desperately to concoct some way of ending this line of conversation without being rude to my boss. The guide must have seen my discomfort, though, because he saved me again. Look there. He gestured to the base of the other spruce. We're close now. I didn't see anything in the spot that he'd indicated, but whether he'd seen a sign or not, the distraction proved effective, and Owen dropped his line of questioning. We continued on again in silence. After only a few moments of blessed quiet, the guide raised a hand and put a finger to his lips. Owen and I stopped in our tracks, pausing at the crest of the hill. That was my cat. He's being a dickhead right now. I'm so sorry. The guide pointed into the distance, and I followed his finger. For a while, I saw nothing, and I searched the landscape for some sign of whatever he'd indicated. The Wyoming woods had grown thicker around us, and we left the pickup truck behind. The light October snow was beginning to stick, and a thin layer of white had settled among the pine needles. The snow wasn't so heavy, but I couldn't see clearly, and I scanned the rocky hills below of us for some sign of our prey. After a moment of searching, I spotted it. Oh my god, I can't read today. Far in the distance, perhaps a few 100 yards away, a set of antlers peeked out from behind the corpse of a tree. I grinned. Frightened though I might now be of the outdoors, I had truly loved nature for most of my life, and the prospect of landing a big bull elk still excited me. I turned back to my group. Owen was still looking through a set of binoculars, scanning the woods as I had, and the guide waited patiently for him to spot the animal of his own. On cue, the shrill call of the bull elk sounded through the trees. If you've never heard an elk's bugle, the sound is equal parts comical and terrifying. The creatures call out in a high, piercing whine that, depending on the animal, can sound almost like a screaming child, the screeching brakes of a poorly maintained car, or the whirl of machinery. But the sound is distinctive and unmistakable, and you know it when you hear it. Owen looked down from the binoculars, and while I suspected he hadn't spotted our quarry, he seemed satisfied that we were on the right track. Our guide pulled a long, tubular call from one of his many pockets and put it to his mouth. As he blew, a similar sound, nearly identical to the call we just heard, echoed forth. His call was answered by another bugle, and the three of us exchanged excited looks. We trekked silently through the trees, down the hill, and toward the spot where we'd seen the antlers. As we got closer, our guide pulled his hands up and told us to stop. All right, he whispered. We're getting close enough that we might be able to see this guy. But if anyone asks, we got him a few miles back the way we came from. Owen and I didn't answer, only our puzzled expressions must have been clear enough, though, because the guide quickly answered our unspoken question. You're not allowed to hunt in Yellowstone. I think we've crossed into the parkland about half a mile back. His words punched like a punch to the stomach. The excitement of the elk hunt evaporated, and I felt only a sinking, creeping dread. Since Shenandoah and the mural that wasn't a mural, I hadn't dared to venture into these closed parks. In fact, I'd done all I could to avoid them, declining invitations to go hiking or camping at every turn. But here I was, years later, back in one of the godforsaken national parks. I stopped involuntarily. Oh, thanks. That's good to hear. I'm glad you stuck with me because I took a really long break there for a while. Um, I took like a 2, 3 year break. Uh, I stopped involuntarily. The guide carried on, though, either not noticing or ignoring my reaction. I know all of the rangers on duty, and neither of y'all would get in trouble, but still, it's a hassle I'd rather not deal with. Owen nodding conspiratorially, and I did my best fixing my expression. Apparently, I didn't quite manage it though, because Owen weighed in to reassure me. See, you're not going to get in any trouble. I'm sure it happens all the time. He looked to my guide for further reassurance, but the old ranger spotted something in my face that Owen hadn't. He fixed me with the same look he had when I mentioned that my dad had been a ranger. Again, he seemed about to say something, but another bugle cut him off. He turned, and we continued down the hill into the woods. Oh yeah, the staircase ritual. That's another one of those crazy rituals where you have to like stand on the stairs for like 13 hours or something crazy. Um, Slowly we stalked closer to the elk. Circling around the spot we had last seen, we approached from behind. At the guide's insistence, we readied our guns. Owen would take the first shot, of course, as he financed the entire retreat. I hoped I wouldn't have to follow up, though, because my hands had begun to shake as my fear of the parks took hold. Our boots left faint, nearly invisible tracks in the thin layer of frost that was now accumulating atop the dirt. Snow has a way of muffling noise, and I could hear only the sounds of our breath and an increasingly frantic heartbeat. Again, the guide held up his hand and we stopped. I spotted the antlers again through the trees. They were closer now, about 100 yards away. I stared, fixated, as the antlers shifted. I held my breath, and the silent, still woods seemed almost to do the same. As I readied myself for the beast to move, Owen knelt and brought the rifle to his shoulder in a practiced motion. The antlers shifted again, and all was still. Then, slowly, inexorably, the antlers moved from behind the distant tree, or rather, their owner moved, and the antlers came with it. And as the beast came into view, it became clear that whatever the antlers were attached to certainly was not an elk. The antlers ended in sharp, vicious points that did not seem entirely natural, and grew from a head that seemed to belong to a human or something that had been human once, long ago. The crown of its head was round and entirely bald. Its face had the same general shape of a man's: 2 eyes, 2 ears, and a mouth. But where the nose would ordinarily be, it only had small, bulbous snub and 2 snake-like slits. Its eyes, I could even see from a distance, were a cold, piercing blue. Every other part of the creature was bone white, and had not been for the antlers, I might have not seen it against the snow. The creature was thin, but its limbs were corded with a sinewy, ropey muscle. Its torso again looked like something had once been human, but a human that had been stretched and twisted so that I was almost unrecognizable. Long arms nearly hung to the ground beneath the emaciated rib cage that hung in distended, protruding belly. Thin stick legs with backward-facing knees ended in tufts of white fur and large black hooves. Its enormous hands, tips with filthy nails, held the shredded remains of what looked like had once been a rabbit. The creature, now fully in view from behind the tree, opened its red-stained mouth to reveal rows of long, knife-like teeth, and from that horrifying maw came the shrill, whining bugle of a bull elk. The crack of a rifle sounded through the forest, and the creature's head snipped backwards. I looked back to find the ranger, rifle on his shoulder, aiming at the distant horror. I spun my head again, back to the creature as it slowly looked upwards, and it turned its head nearly 90 degrees and looked directly at us. Fuck, the ranger quietly cursed, snapped me out of my daze. Owen, too, stood now and looked frantically at our guide. In the distance, the beast dropped to all fours. Run. The simple command was all I needed. I turned and bolted back to the direction we had come from. My rifle jostled uncomfortably against my back, and as I sprinted, I shrugged out of its straps and left it on the path behind me. Ragged breath and pounding footsteps told me that Owen and the guide followed closely behind me. I willed my legs to move faster. Only once, briefly, did I chance to look backwards. The beast had covered the distance between us in an impossible time, galloping on all fours in a frenzied, looping sprint. I was so close now that I could see shreds of rabbit in its teeth and along its mouth. The guide sprinted just behind it. As I turned, he paused to lift his rifle again. I saw Owen, too, sprinting behind me, red-faced and laboring up the hill. The abomination was nearly on top of him. I saw the fear in his eyes as he no doubt heard the monster following closely on his heels. A crack of a rifle echoed through the woods. A muffled curse followed shortly after, and Owen's pitiful cry came next. "Help me," he called out, and his warm baritone wavered with fear. I'm ashamed to admit it, but in that moment, a single thought rang clearly through my mind. I didn't have to be faster than whatever was chasing us. I only had to be faster than Owen. And I was. From behind me, a thump, a wet ripping sound, and a horrific, tortured scream confirmed it. The guide's muffled curse followed. I didn't stop. I didn't even slow. The ranger caught up to me, sprinting to my right, and the look that crossed his face confirmed all that I needed to know. Owen wouldn't be leaving Yellowstone, alive or dead. A pounding behind me signaled the beast was to be done with my boss for now. "We're almost there," the guide screamed his assurance through ragged breath. "They can't leave the parks." I thought of Coyote, sprinting on its hind legs through the West Texas desert, until it stopped dead in its tracks, as if it hit a wall. And I thought of a desperate hurdle down Skyline Drive, and I knew that the old ranger was telling the truth. So I sprinted, lungs burning, chest heaving faster than I'd ever moved in my life, towards an invisible finish line in the distance. And I can see it. I can't explain how or why, but I saw it, only a few yards away. The trees didn't look any different, the ground didn't look any different, but some instinctual part of my brain drew the line in the woods in the distance, and I knew that if I could just make it to that invisible line, I would be safe. Drawing on reserves I didn't know I had, I sped up. I could hear the beast's pounding hooves. I was so close. I could smell its rotting teeth, yards away. I could feel its labored breathing. I'm nearly there. I wasn't going to make it. The abomination stench, its breath, its pounding feet, they weighed on me like a physical thing, nearly on top of me. I resigned myself to a horrific end when the ranger's piercing yell cut through my panting breath. He collapsed on the ground just in front of me.
I reached down mid-stride, hoping desperately that I could help him as I hadn't helped Owen. But as I reached for his arm, I realized that he was grinning. I realized, too, that I could no longer feel the beast behind me. Slowly, I chanced to look backward, and I saw it, only a few yards away, still, and staring at me. I had made it. I stopped and stared, and the creature turned, stood back on two legs, and sauntered almost casually back into the woods. I knew then that the ranger had been correct, that we'd left park property, and that, bound by some law I couldn't properly understand, the creature couldn't follow. I collapsed back on the ranger. He continued to grin madly as I splayed out? Is that like a thing? As I splayed out, spread eagle on the dirt. My chest heaved, and I realized dimly that my coat and pants were soaked through with cold sweat. I shucked my jacket and lay there for a moment, looking up to the sky as snowflakes spiraled slowly down to earth. After a moment, I raised my head to a sitting position. I don't know quite how long we sat there, the ranger and I, staring into the woods, not saying a word. Help me. The desperate cry ripped through the winter air. Help. Again, in a familiar warm baritone, I stood. Help. The ranger stood and put a hand on my chest. Without a word, he shook his head sadly. I thought of the elk's bugle that we had heard through the trees, and I thought of that high, animal whine coming from the creature's mouth, and I thought that the tubular call of the guide put to his lips, believing that it was he who lured a wild creature to ourselves, and I heard the voice call out again. Help me. And the guide turned from the woods and walked away, and I followed. We reached the pickup perhaps 15 minutes later. We drove back without a word. The ranger broke the silence as we pulled up to the ranch. He said only that he'd fix things with his bosses and my coworker, and explain why Owen hadn't returned. I didn't ask what he meant. Instead, when we got back, I made a beeline for my cabin. I lit a fire in the fireplace, made a cup of coffee. I shed my clothes and left them in a pile on the floor, and I gathered a blanket around myself, and I sat in front of the fire and wept. Oh, hey, Redgrin. Thanks. Sorry, I was in the middle of like a huge paragraph. Okay, where was I? The old. Okay. Sometime later, perhaps only minutes, perhaps hours, a knock interrupted my sobs. I dried my face in the blanket and hastily pulled myself together. I opened the door to find the familiar lined face of our guide. He cocked his head in a come this way motion, and I followed him outside. The two of us sat together, side by side, in the rocking chairs out in the front of the cabin. We rocked back and forth for a moment, neither of us quite ready to break the silence. The old ranger spoke first. What's your last name, son? I told him. He nodded as if he'd been expecting my answer. I figured you were old Danny's boy. I turned to him, shocked, equally by the casual reference to my father, and by the fact that, after the day's events, I was even capable of shock. He looked just like him. I thought about the night my dad hadn't come home from work. I didn't respond for a while. Then slowly, almost resigned, I asked, "What the hell, man?" I wrapped all my questions into one, the coyote, the bear, the elk thing, with a single question I asked about all of it. So he told me, and he didn't know much more than I did. But that night, as I cocooned myself in the cabin, scrumptious bedding. What is that word? I need to fucking Google that. Anyway, scrumptious. We're going with scrumptious, okay? I figured it was like this. We learn in school that park reserves, they preserve nature. They keep people out to prevent them from spoiling the natural beauty. But that's not all they do. Somehow, by some law I can't understand, parks keep things in as well. And like an old couple in Big Bend, like a gray eyed man in Shenandoah, like my guide and my dad, I was going to help keep it that way. That was pretty good. I like monster stories. I think monster stories are freaking awesome. Skinwalkers are dope. You have to think about it like logically. Logically, yes, okay. The chances of like a skinwalker truly existing is pretty low, right? But you also have to think about the fact that like urban legends and like folklore and things like that all have an origination from something. Whether somebody saw something that they didn't quite understand what they were seeing, what have you. And it just kind of builds on top of each other. So, like, that definitely has an origination somewhere. I found one about managing a hotel. Is this a ritual one, Queen? Okay. We'll do this one and then we'll do the one about the hotel. Hold on. Okay, this one's called Let's Play a Game. Get a small group together, one as evenly divided amongst boys and girls as you can, or all of one gender. Make sure they all say whatever you need to say to each other before you start. After this, you won't get another chance. This game isn't for the faint of heart, and it isn't for the frail in spirit. If you do not think you can handle it, now is the time to back out. Meet in any park, woods, or abandoned complex as close to midnight as you can. On a night of the new moon, be sure, wherever you need to meet, that it's some place you all know very well. You'll need every advantage you can get. Everyone should be dressed completely in black, and everyone should wear a mask that covers their whole face. If any of you stand out from the rest of the group, or your masks don't cover your whole face, the game will be over quickly. To be extra careful, it's best that all of the clothes be new, bought on that day if possible, and nobody be able to recognize each other. If you can guess who each other are, you've done it wrong, and you should be able to try again another time. Once you are there, do not speak to each other. Don't speak to anyone, not a single word. Plan it out in advance. If you're there and ready to begin, place bowls, bells, or something that can make a ringing sound when struck. All of them must be identical, and there must be one for every participating person in the game. We'll refer to them as ringers from now on. Everyone must kneel on the ground and begin striking their ringer with some form of instrument. 6 from the ground will work, and so will spoons, knives, or anything really that can, as long as no one can tell that they're yours. The air will start to get cold. You might feel something brush up against you, or the wind shifting around you. Pay no mind to this, just ignore it. Look up, and don't look around. If you see something moving in the shadows, ignore it. The soft ringing as a soft ringing has called the spirits for the game. That soft ringing is not calling spirits. That is cat ball. Soft ringing will start the game. The movement and noise will continue to grow the longer you continue the ringing. Don't stop until everything becomes silent and still again. If you stop before that, the spirits will close in on you, and you will die the most pitiful death. Once the ringing has stopped, the game has begun. If you ever played hide and seek, then you should get the basic idea of the game. The rules are as followed. Do not leave the chosen area until the game is over. The spirits know what the specific area you chose is, and if they think you're leaving before the game is over, they will make you beg for your death. The spirits can only know a player's name if they hear the player's voice, or if they see that player's face, they will try anything to get you to talk. They can read all of your memories with the exception of your name, and may take the form of a loved one, or even unknowingly, one of the other players. You may hear a familiar voice calling out to you, or face your darkest fears, but you must never speak or remove your mask. If a spirit is able to call a player's name, they will tear that player to pieces. The most horrendous death awaits one who loses this game. Their skin will be peeled from their still living body, and their limbs will be twisted and contorted in the most inhuman ways. As their last gurgling breath leaves their body, the spirits will take their soul, and they will be a spirit next time the game is played. They may only earn their freedom by winning the game as a spirit. If a player faces a spirit, it may be forced to flee with a flashlight. The spirits fear the sun and will flee light, but be warned, this is a temporary safety. The spirit will return after a moment, and when it realizes it's been fooled, the spirits don't like to be tricked, and they will be furious. After a few times, the spirits may not flee from a light anymore. The game is over when either of the players have been caught or the sun rises. At sunrise, any surviving players are declared winners. Congratulations. You may now remove your mask and speak freely. Winners of the game are, from then on, gifted with the greatest of fortunes and the best of luck. However, you may notice that not all the spirits have left after the game is over. Maybe you'll see something out of the corner of your eye and turn to find nothing there. Maybe certain objects will not be where you left them. Maybe you'll notice a few more things going bump in the night. You should start preparing, because the real game has only just begun. Ah, ah, ah. I'm having a hard enough time put together the Three Kings ritual for you guys. This one has so many steps talking about death. I'm just, I guess, gonna summon demons. We're just summoning demons, not trying to die. Oh my god, I'm scaring myself. I thought I saw something fall from the top shelf, but it didn't. It's just my imagination. See what y'all are doing? Y'all are freaking me out, making me scare myself. I'm pretty sure it is. I think. That was Cat. That was Cat. Because he's a dickhead. I don't know if I've mentioned he's a dickhead. What are y'all's favorite rituals? I know that Kathleen said the staircase ritual was how she found me, but I like the dark reflection ritual. That one was good. Seven Sins. I think I've heard of that one. Yeah, stairs was how you found me. Senor Creepy Pasta. Ken the Climber is a really good story. They have a I think it's on Shutter. No, maybe it's Netflix actually. There's a story that's inspired by Ted the Caver, but it's essentially kind of like, But yeah, Ken the Climber was good. I had oh man, who is it that recommended that story to me? That was a good one. My favorite creepy pasta, I want to say, is the Soul Game. It was more like a no sleep, but the Soul Game by Bloodworth. Don't Answer the Door is good. She takes things from me, or she often took things. My sister took things, is what it was called. Sorry. My sister took things. Um, Dancing Balls of Light. Or Dancing Bells. Dear Abby. I think I've read that one. You know which one I never read? Ben Drowned. I never read that one. Or Smile Dog. Never read Smile Dog either. Um, it's another one. How to Speak to the Devil. Yeah. I wanted to do that one to you, for you guys too. The Devil Game, the Summon Devil Game, or whatever. The one that I just narrated. Um, that one just requires like, I think it's like candles, 10 candles, black candles or something. I think the most difficult part would be finding the 10 black candles, but it seems possible. It seems definitely doable. Okay, so yeah, the Devil Game. So I have two right now. I have one about a hotel. I've never read it. I don't think it's. I think it's about ghosts. It's on No Sleep. And then I also have A Warning from a Very Petty Girl. It's also a No Sleep. Which one would you like to hear? The Petty Girl one is kind of long. So is the hotel one. The Petty Girl one is longer than the hotel one. The Petty Girl one's like spaced weird. Okay, we'll start. We'll start with the hotel one. I am the former manager of a hotel pandemonium. and I have a story to tell. Managing hotels can be a bit of a drag. The guests snub you, the staff don't respect you, and you are always the one having to clean up the messes for others. Both, in the literal sense, metaphorical. I learned this the hard way when I landed a job as manager of Pandemonium Hotel, but that's not why I'm here today, telling you in the dark recesses of my bedroom. I'm here to share a particular incident that occurred in my second year at the hotel. An incident that scarred me mentally beyond belief and is the sole reason why I no longer work there. Let me start off by saying that it was my first job, and so far it's been my only job. I haven't been able to land one since, but I guess that could be down to my rarely leaving the house now. I was a newbie, an amateur straight out of uni. Can you guess what I studied? That's right, hotel management. I've always loved hotels, though, especially the historic ones. I love the aesthetic feel of an old hotel, the musty smell of the interior with each room having a different story to tell, visually, of course. Hotel Pandemonium was no exception, and I had sought out personally because it was so visually stunning. I didn't know how much about this history I thought I knew, but one of the things that did intrigue me was the fact that the hotel was supposedly haunted, with a particular emphasis on one of its rooms. It was just a local legend, something the kids liked to talk about at sleepovers, and something the elderly folks of our town liked to gossip about over cups of tea and shortbread biscuits. I didn't think there was actually any truth to it, to be honest, but it lured me nonetheless. I was a horror buff, so I couldn't pass up something like this. Imagine the stories. Oh yeah, Little Fears was like, I still want to be Little Fears. I love the way she speaks. It's so, like, soothing. And, I feel like my voice is raspy sometimes, but hers was just, like, very rounded. Imagine the stories. The money was decent, too, and I figured that I was down the allure of a haunted hotel. People love the notion of staying somewhere where something grisly, possibly, maybe happened. A place where a restless soul roams the rooms, unable to rest because of some traumatic, unfinished business. That's the thing, though. People like the idea. No one ever really imagines that it would be true. You just don't, do you? Well, in Hotel Pandemonium, it just happened to be true. Wholeheartedly true. That's my cat hitting that damn blind thing. Now their bodies slamming each other against the thing. This is why I can't record stories at night. I try to record stories at night, but like nighttime is when they come alive. I'm like, you dickheads. Okay, what did I say? Well, in Hotel Panium, it just happened to be true, wholeheartedly true, scarily true, but it wasn't something that I concerned myself to begin with. To be perfectly honest with you, nothing of grave importance occurred there in the first year of my employment. Sure, there were a few terrified guests swearing on their lives of their children, grandchildren, mothers of whomever room 206 that it was haunted. I'd get an earful from various guests of all ages, accusing me of misinforming them. Why didn't you tell us what was in there? They'd ask me. I wouldn't tell them that there was nothing wrong with 206, and I truly believed it when I uttered those words. I really did. Besides, nothing paranormal or otherworldly ever happened to me when I had to do my usual monthly inspections for room 206. It looked just perfectly normal and painfully ordinary in a hotel. It was one of the more old-fashioned rooms of the hotel, adorned by medieval paintings, oatmeal-colored wallpaper, and threadbare furniture. Eventually, though, we'd had to put the room out for use purely for the fact that we were getting too many complaints and it was becoming a real detriment on the revenue. So the room was left to gather dust. It was unoccupied for at least 6 months. The room didn't even grace my thoughts until one day on a particularly dreary night in October. As the hotel manager, I occasionally had to work nights. It just came with the nature of the job. I had to be on site in case anything had to be dealt with immediately.
Sorry. Dang it. Immediately.
It was one of those nights that it began to happen. The incident I mentioned earlier. Oh, what a dick. Look at what he did. You see what he did?
What a butthole. Emmy! Quit! Dickhead. Okay. Now the camera's all weird. Whoa. I blame the cat. I have 3 monsters, actually. 3 freaking monsters. One that I got because I was lonely during quarantine, and now I have 2 monsters and like a Satan devil cat. It was on one of those nights that it happened, the incident I mentioned earlier, and coincidentally, it was to be my last night at Hotel Pandemonium. My shift felt particularly drab that night. It dragged, and I remember having to keep pinching myself to stay awake at the front desk. I closed my eyes momentarily when the sounds of shrieking brought me back to my consciousness. "I'd like the key to room 206, please," came the voice of an elderly woman that stood in front of me. Sorry, excuse me, good evening, madam. Were you looking to stay with us this evening?" I asked. "I'd like the key to room 206, she repeated. It was then that I really had the chance to fully absorb her appearance. She wore a long, dirt-stained trench coat that enveloped her somewhat frail-looking physique. Her hair was milky white, and it looked like it had been left unwashed for months. Her face I found most curious, though. Her skin possessed a horribly ashy hue, as if she'd been exhumed from dirt. When she spoke, she smiled, and it wasn't the sort of warm and inviting smile that you would expect to see adorn a grandmother's face. No, not at all. Her smile was so eerie, it made me feel uncomfortable, and I remember fiddling with my shirt collar as the sweat dripped down my neck. She didn't stop smiling, even when she spoke, and I don't think she had any teeth. Madam, I'm really sorry, but room 206 is unavailable. I would be happy to let you have room 205, if that'll suit," I asked, twiddling my thumbs. "I'd like the key to room 206, please," she repeated once more with her never-ending smile. I could hear her rubbing her gums together as she spoke. "Madam, I must apologize again, but that room is unavailable." I felt like we were going in circles. She placed a hand on the desk then. Our fingers almost touched as she leaned her face so close to mine that I could smell her cheap perfume. "Please, I must have the keys to room 206. I'm expected." I thought about it then. It's not like staying in the room was banned under company policy. It was just something we did in order to save face
and put a stop to the myriad of complaints we were receiving every time someone spent the night in there. If this woman wanted to stay in the room, there was nothing explicably stopping her from doing so. She was weird, yes, and insistent, but a paying customer nonetheless. So really, I didn't have a choice. You don't understand. I'm expected, she said again, her smile stretching over more widely. Yes, madam, of course, I understand. I didn't, though, because the room was empty. Had been for months. I couldn't conceive of who would be expecting her in there. I had thought perhaps she's expecting a phone call, or that the most logical solution. It was all about the logic. I turned around and grabbed the key to room 206 that had been hanging limply for months, gathering dirt and dust. I turned back to face her. She hadn't moved, her expression unchanged. She spoke again. You don't understand. I was born there, and I must go back. She looked so frantic. I frowned then. But what in the world was she talking about? I yearned for this to be over so I didn't have to pay too much attention to what she was saying. Maybe she was mad. Who was I to judge? Here you go, madam. I just need you to sign the relevant paperwork. Will it be cash or credit? I asked, attempting to stay calm, to keep my cool, as they say. She was freaking me out, though. Cash, she spat back at me. Certainly. That's not a problem. That'll be 50 euros for the night. Should you desire to stay longer, please let us know by 11 a.m. I hope you enjoy your stay with us at the Hotel Pandemonium. I smiled meekly at her, thinking myself a fool. She handed me a 50-euro note without saying another word and snatched hanging key from my sweat-covered palms. I watched as she limped away from the desk. She didn't have any luggage with her, so I didn't offer to walk her to her room. It wasn't customary anyway, and I was wholly relieved. I was glad to be rid of that creepy old woman. Cautiously, as she walked away, I noticed that she was barefoot. Strange, isn't it? Not only did she lack footwear, she left wet footprints all over our floor. She staggered up the stairs, and I shuddered at the mere sight of her. I glanced at the sign-in book and saw her name, printed brightly in red brio. Eleanor Hemshore. It danced and gleamed on the page in front of me. I was tired. The following day, I was called into work pretty early, much to my dismay and annoyance. Apparently, hotel guests were complaining of strange noises coming from room 206. They spoke of hearing constant scratching, but most eerily of all, guests said that they could hear intermittent moaning emanating from the room. I asked staff whether Miss Hemshore had vacated the room. I was told that she hadn't left. By 11:15 a.m., there was still no sign of Miss Hemshore at the front desk. I asked some of the cleaning staff to attend and kindly ask her to either vacate the room and pay for another day. By 11:30 a.m., there was still no sign of her, and she said that they said that she was not answering her door. So I, as manager of the hotel, decided to go down there myself, armed with a skeleton key. Just in case. I was worried that perhaps she had fallen or suffered some sort of heart attack. She didn't look too well the previous night when she arrived. I approached the room slowly, gingerly. I didn't know why, but that woman, coupled with that room, really gave me the creeps. I realized that I was scared. As I neared, I could hear faint scratches coming from within the room, like someone was clawing at the walls, really, really fast. When I got to the door, I heard a faint moaning, but it wasn't the moan of someone in pain. It was a low, long murmur of the coldest touch. It pierced my heart, my skin. I felt shivers travel down my spine. I knocked. There was no answer, but the moan intensified. The wet, heaving breaths of something inconceivable beset my ears and reverberated against the door. I put my key in the lock and turned it. As I opened the door, the sound suddenly ceased, and I was met with complete and utter silence. All I could hear was my own heartbeat beating wildly in my ears. The room was empty. There was no sign of Miss Eleanor Hemshore. Hello? Miss Hemshore? Um, it's past checkout, so you have to vacate the room or pay for another stay. Miss Hemshore? My voice sounded so loud in the vast emptiness of the room. I could feel myself quivering. Something wet dripped onto my forehead from directly above me. I lifted my head, and that's when I saw Miss Hemshore. She was on the ceiling, gripping it tightly with her dirt-stained fingers. She was drenched in some undeniable liquid, and it had dripped from every limb, every feature of her body. My eyes widened as I glimpsed her face. Her eyes were so dark, cavernous almost, and that same smile adorned her face. Miss Hemshore's skin was so taut around her face, looking like it might rip at any second, as fragile and delicate as paper. She almost didn't look human. All I could manage was a whimper. I was completely frozen to that spot. I told you I'm expected, she said. Then she vanished, faded into thin air in front of my tear-filled eyes. Before I had time to react, I heard a voice behind me, a voice that came from within the wall. Shh, it's okay. I'm here now. I'm here, Mother, came the guttural sound of a whisper. I ran for my fucking life. I handed my notice that very same day. I knew that I couldn't go back there anymore, but the events of that day have haunted me ever since. I can't go to sleep without seeing Miss Eleanor Hemshore's face in my dreams. Her never-ending smile haunts my thoughts. What disturbs me the most is that no one ever found her. She went into room 206 and never came out. If you happen to come across Hotel Pandemonium, I implore you, do not stay in room 206. You might never come out again.
Dang, that's nuts. I've been to a hotel that was haunted once. It's the Driscoll Hotel in Austin, Texas. And I was like, I think I was in my 20s, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be a ghost hunter. So I was like looking for ghost hunting groups or what have you, like a nerd. And I met this lady who lived up north in Texas, and she was like, yeah, we had chatted and stuff for a while, and then they were like, well, let's go ghost hunting. We'll go to this restaurant, the Spaghetti Warehouse, which was also rumored to be haunted, and then we'll stay a night at the Driscoll Hotel. So we were like, yeah, let's do it. So we went that night, and I remember, and it was really weird. I remember I was standing outside on the porch, or not the porch, but like right in front of the hotel, because it was like downtown. So it was like a lot of like bars and like a lot of traffic and stuff that was like there on this street with us. And we're all standing outside. It was about four of us. And I remember when I was walking through like the hallways, I felt like I felt disoriented like a little bit. And I thought it was because the carpet, because it was like really weird patterned carpet. And it like all of the hallways like they looked the same. They like they almost all had the same picture patterns, like, whatever. So we're standing outside of the hotel, and I was like, yeah, I just felt like really weird. Or no, somebody had mentioned that they were upstairs and walking to the room and that they felt weird or felt dizzy. And then I was like, oh, that's really weird that you mentioned that because, I hadn't said anything about the way that I felt. And then one by one, we were all kind of like putting our stories together, kind of like, well, now that you mention it, I did feel like off earlier. But that was really it. It was only just kind of like a weird head feeling. I didn't see anything. And it could have been the carpet for all I know, because the carpet really was weird. I used to live in San Antonio for many, many years. I miss San Antonio. I love it. They have the best freaking food in San Antonio. Holy heck. The best tacos that ever tacoed this land. Yeah, it's really hot. It's supposed to be super hot next week, too. That was a good one. See, like some of the stories are good to read live, um, but sometimes they're written really weird, or they use like a I don't know, they're just written in a way where they're hard to read live. Yes. I mean, you could eat rice and beans anytime, but it is good. I have a no bean policy in my house because one time me and my ex had left beans overnight on the stove in the crock pot. And I don't know if you know this, but like beans go bad really, really fast. And when beans go bad, they stink so bad. It is like the worst gag inducing smell. So yeah, I have a no bean policy in my house. I will not allow it. Yeah. Mm. It's a horrible smell just in the crock pot, and then you just take the lid off, and it's like, holy Jesus. Yeah, it's bad. That would scare me, Brian. Like when, like when they flat tire you, like step on your heel, turn around and nobody's there. Like, not only was that scary, but it was also rude. Ghost. Okay, super rude. That's how you ruin good pairs of shoes. I lived in a house in California that I used to see shadows out of the corner of my eye. And I used to get like really weird, like, when you just feel like you're being watched, but that was pretty much it. So I don't know if it was just like my own mind. I don't know how I would react if I actually like saw something, like an actual ghost, like whole ass ghost. My husband doesn't believe ghosts are real. He is a full skeptic. Oh heck no. Once they start saying my name, then we have problems. Once you start like addressing me formally, then there's an issue that I have with that just a little bit. They said that the Large Hadron Collider proved that ghosts were not real. This was like an article that they put out a long time ago, but like based off of like the science or whatever, that like they proved that it wasn't real. Yeah, like someone walking like the corner of your eye. That's what happened just a little while ago when like I saw something fall. I was like something fell, but something didn't fall. But I have cats, so like something could have probably fallen because they were like doing cat things. Yeah, I couldn't do being touched and all that. Seen them on your stairs in your house? Forget that. Do you live in like an old house that you know of? I don't know if you guys have Discord, but we're planning on doing like scary movie nights in Discord because basically you can stream scary movies. So we're thinking about doing that. So like if you want to join the Discord or if you have Discord, we could do that someday soon, hopefully. Let me get the invite. Hold on. Cuz I used to watch movies a long time ago with the community. And we watched Lake Mungo one time and it was freaking crazy scary. Burgled his crotch. That's hilarious. I've never heard of such termage. Burgled his crotch. Okay, so let's do. Yes, I know, Queen. You have Discord. You're in my Discord. Uh, let's do a warning from a very petty girl. I'm gonna try and read it kind of petty, okay? So tell me if I'm petty enough. Hello, Reddit. My name is Abigail Mitchell. I lurk here from time to time, reading creepypasta and horror stories located in No Sleep and other subreddits. They're fascinating sources for me. The reason why I'm posting here today, as the title says, the story of warning those that read this subreddit and find themselves in awkward situations. Everything I'm about to tell you is true, and you can't take it from what as you may. And you can take it from what is way. I don't know. I can't read. Oh my god. What's going on? It's because someone joined my Discord and got distracted. Anyway, I'm just here to pass on a message. I've known Reddit to be a place where people come to hang out and chat with each other, and sometimes be asses to other human beings. But the horror side of Reddit is where I lay my head. Some of my favorite stories are those that offer things like ritual stories, monster encounters, and the true style of a story. They get my juices going, especially when well written. I love the ones that make you think, and the ones that make you question reality. The ones where regular people encounter situations and beings beyond their control and or comprehension. I really love it when I don't have time to visit Reddit and I'm driving to a destination and I go to YouTube or Vimeo and listen to my favorite horror readers. It makes trips worth it. It also gives me a chance to refamiliarize myself with some of those tales. Well, a week or so ago, one of those tales of terror happened to me. One of my friends, Emily, and her boyfriend Marvin were found dead at her home. They weren't just dead, they'd been slaughtered. Whoever or whatever killed them had torn them to shreds. My devastation was real.
Me and Emily went back a long time, and she did not deserve what had happened to her. I needed to find out what happened and who did this to them. Something needed to be done. I went and spoke to a friend with the police. He told me there were pieces of him all over the house and even in the backyard. They weren't going to release the information yet because they thought the murders were some kind of occult ritual gone wrong. I asked him why they would think that. He told me that there was a pentagram in the basement with all the toolings of the cult. Athames, incense, a scroll with ritual writ upon it. Weirdness all around. The following night, after the investigators left the house, my friend gave me permission to enter it. How do I have all this access and friends like that? You'll find out in the end. When I entered the house, the chill that touched my neck made me tear up. My amber eyes clouded with wetness. In my mind's eye, I could only imagine the horror and the pain of their last moments. As I walked through the house, I made notes of the bloodstains on the walls and carpets, and the last little bits of flesh and gore that police left for the cleaning crew after the investigation was done. There was an undercover car outside, but my friend told them to let me enter unmolested. That's a horrible choice of words. The house was dark and eerie, like a silent wind moving about slowly. A wind that touched me on the neck and the arms, almost as if there was an intelligence to it. I made my way through the darkened home looking for clues that the police would likely miss. They aren't used to the occult. They aren't used to looking for arcane symbiology until they get time to call in an expert in the field. That would take too long for what I had planned. I needed to visit this place within a few days of the murder to learn what I would need. My eyes adjusted easily to the darkness of the basement. A light would hide for what I was looking for. I needed the ink of the windowless basement. As a native Philadelphian, I love the smell of basements. But that small yet unimportant recognition was clouded by the musky smell of gore and coppery blood mixed with leftover scents of incense and candles. I studied the pentagram on the floor closely. I noticed Emily's mistake immediately. One of them had broken the seal of the thing. They probably didn't take this ritual seriously and thought it was just another thing to do while bored. Some random ritual pasta. It cost them their lives. And me, my friend. I don't think I read that one, but I think I helped somebody read that one. I think I was featured. I have to look and see in my collab playlist. I've never been in a basement, to be honest. I live in Texas. We don't have many basements. Hello, Abby, came a voice from behind me. I stood and turned at the echo of Emily, a former friend, now a waning echo of the real Emily. What did you do, Emily? I asked her, with sorrow in my voice. I walked over to her, my hand's energy now surging forth, allowing me to touch her. We fucked up, Abby. I'm so sorry to do this to you. You're the one that died, silly, not me. Now tell me who did this to you. We haven't much time. A few days ago, Marvin and I were poking around on Reddit, just reading some horror stories and messing around, the echo started. When we got up to grab a drink, I got a notification in my inbox, so I checked it. It was a message from some person called Ziggy. They said they noticed my likes on No Sleep and had noticed that there were mainly ritual-style stories. Continue, Em, I prodded. Well, Ziggy had written that he had some friends that had done a ritual called Twilight Summons. Emily's echo continued. No details, Em. I can find that out on Reddit. Tell me the password so I can get access to your account. She told me, and then immediately grew concerned. Abby, where's Marvin? Why isn't he here? Where is he? She cried out frantically. If a normal human would have entered the basement by now, they would notice me with glowing hands holding a transparent blue ghost to them. I tried to console her, but realized that it was time, and that it was time and that she had given me what I needed. Em, I said loudly through to get her attention. The echo of Emily turned and looked in my amber eyes. He's gone. Dead. Just like you, Em. You're not really here. You're an echo of Emily. Not the real thing. The real Emily is gone. I felt as though I had destroyed her world all over again. An echo? She quizzed softly. I'm really dead, aren't I? I didn't respond. I just held on to her and looked at her confusion and realization on her face. She lowered her gaze and asked, What now? She said. I free you from this forever. Then I avenge you and Marvin's death, I told her, tearing up. Dissipating an echo never felt good. But when it's a friend, it's the worst feeling in the universe. I'm sorry, Abby. I wish this had never happened. I miss you, she stated as I pulled her close and held her. No, you won't, I stated softly, disrupting the echo. Oh my God. I stated softly, disrupting the echo. I stood alone in the basement for a while. When I got home, I logged onto Reddit and checked Emily's account, and I saw the note from Ziggy. He didn't even have a Reddit account. Ziggy somehow was able to get Emily and Marvin to get themselves killed, and they never bothered to notice he had no account. Were people really that bored to never check where their notifications come from? I followed the link Ziggy provided them. The Twilight Ritual, a ritual designed to summon forth a being that has to serve you physically, but only during the twilight hours of day, when the link between the world and ours are at its closest connection. According to the ritual, there are two phases that both must be performed. The sunset dusk phase and the sunrise dawn phase. When you summon the being in its balanced phase or neutral, it will perform actions that benefit you and harm the thing you wish to sacrifice to itself. If you perform only the sunrise dawn phase, it will only perform beneficial to others you name. If you perform the sunset dusk phase, it will only harm others, but as its summoner, it will not harm you personally. Who the hell makes these damn things up? I continued on. I looked as though they have performed one of the ritual phases correctly, the sunrise dawn phase. Throughout the home, there were invisible sigils on the walls opposite of every window facing outwards. It was the sunset dusk phase they failed to perform properly and got killed in the effort. The next day, I went and purchased the things I would need to perform the ritual. I had a need to speak with this being. I know many of you hearing this so far may think I'm some kind of monster or ghost hunter. I assure you I'm not. I just hate bullies. If you're a human bully, I hate you. If you're a monster bully, the same thing. If you go about your business without torturing or playing with your food, I have no issues with you. But what happened to Emily isn't a normal thing. I've seen people break summoning circles before and never harmed. I've seen them break circles and lose something due to them failing to summon the proper being. But it's almost never this messy. This thing had personal issue with Emily and Marvin. I needed to know what that was. What? Another ritual? I don't know if I want to do rituals with you, Queen. The first one you wanted to do with me required a body. I don't really have much access to bodies. Hold on, where was I? After procuring what I needed, I went home and began the process of the ritual. First, I showered and cleaned myself with oils and incense to provide a sense of clarity. Then I slept until 4 a.m. next. I had to find a place large enough for the summoning ritual, a place that I would not be disturbed for the duration of each phase. I went and broke into Em's house. Her basement would do just fine. The next part of the ritual called for me to create the circle up from 1 hour before civil twilight or the morning dawn. I created the circle protection as required by the ritual using salt. I added a bit of talcum powder. You'll understand why later. Next, I created a summoning circle where the being would appear. I added a bit of talcum powder to the next one also. Also, a few drops of my blood and the scrapings of Emily and Marvin's on the top of that. Again, you'll understand why later. I sat quietly and waited. According to my phone app, dawn was in 3 minutes. When the time came, I performed the rites and waited until sunrise. I won't tell you the rites because some of you idiots might try to perform them. If you wish for the sunrise dawn benefits, then you would end the rites with the phrase, dusk of all. If you wish to continue, you would end the phrase dusk of all. At this time, the being would appear or wait until the second phase was performed. If you chose to continue, which I do not recommend, then you must light 7 candles and burn 3 incense. Those items will burn and last until dusk. You must not leave the circle all day. Then you will fast until dusk. When dusk comes, you may perform the second phase. During the second phase, you'll begin the actual summoning rites. If you stay in the circle and do not break it, the creature will appear at the very moment dusk ends and night begins. Then you may bind the being for 7 days and 3 nights, non-consecutively. According to the rules, I cannot lie to you, nor harm you. Once the summoning ritual is complete, you have provided it with the energy it needs to fulfill the boons you ask of it. However, if you break the circle before asking the boon, then the ritual fails, and the being goes home if its circle is closed and yours is broken. If both circles are broken, it does not have to obey you at all. Oh no, that's fine. Totally talk. I prefer you guys to talk amongst yourself and listen to the story. Like everybody is like, some people can multitask like that. I welcome it. Absolutely welcome it. Also, it's hard for me, and it's hard enough for me to do the Three Kings ritual without being afraid of like summoning demons. I grew up like Catholic, so like Catholic people they tend to be scared of like demons and stuff because that's what we were, told as children. So I was always told not to like mess with that stuff. That's why I was like, oh my god, I don't know if I want to do this, but I will do it for you because I love you. I also think it'd be hella funny, to be honest. If I don't summon a demon, it would be pretty funny. Okay, but here's the thing. Those circles are bullshit. They give you a false sense of security. All the circles do is help empower your will against the thing you summoned. So you can't mess with your mind and psych you out. 2 circles will make you stronger than it. A broken circle on each side leaves you lesser footing, and if you don't have your shit together, those things can get you. Some assholes a long time ago made up the arbitrary rules for magic and summoning, but there's a way around everything. When nighttime fell finally, the thing that killed Emily and Marvin appeared. It was laughably grotesque. It had mottled pink and purple skin, a head that was pure mouth filled with sharp teeth and blunt teeth of equal measure. Its skin was like translucent jello. You could see the organs beneath it beating and moving about impossibly, never staying in one place. Its long, lanky arms ended in putty-like hands that continuously morphed from blunt to sharp, like its teeth. It stood, easily towering over me by a good 4 feet, but impossibly it fit in the basement with no problems. It yawned as though I had disturbed it from doing whatever otherworldly beings do when they aren't being summoned by nitwits and wizards. Congratulations on performing the ritual, my summoner. What boons do you ask? It stated, turning its mouth head down to me. I stared into its inky maw, searching. Ah, there they are. Its eyes were on the back of its mouth. I stared directly at them and stood up. Hello, Ziggy, I said to it. Oh, it knows my name. Ziggy smiled as if the... Excuse me, can we stop the violence, please? I do not remember seeking you out on Reddit, my summoner. Who might you be? Some troll posting nonsense? A bored girl with no friends? How about a wannabe vigilante or something? I reached into my pocket, ignoring Ziggy's mocking tone. I pulled out a picture. It was Emily and Marvin. I do have a boon to ask. It should be a simple task for one of your talents. I stated, a mix of displeasure and annoyance in my voice. Then ask, my summoner, and you shall have more nights, 2 more nights and 7 more days of my services, it said eagerly. Why did you kill these 2 humans in the manner why did you kill these 2 humans in the manner you had killed them, for only breaking the circle of protection, instead of simply leaving? I asked. I cannot see them from here, my summoner, for I have a mouth for a head. Perhaps you would toss the picture to me, that I may have a closer inspection, he said almost gleefully, thinking I would break my circle and bring it to him. The way these silly things worked, I couldn't simply toss it to him. You can see it from where you are, fiend, but as you wish. Then I broke the circle and walked over to his, rubbing my foot with the salt and talcum powder as I stepped out of my circle. It hissed in surprise, its mouth head widening, giving me a better look at its eyes. Can you see it better now? I asked incredulously. It backed away and gritted its mouth head and then quickly reopening it. What are you, girl? It growled, raising its putty claw hands. A petty bitch. I love it. So what are you, girl? A petty bitch. I said what I said, okay? Petty bitch, period. That's really what the story says. A petty bitch, I said, breaking his circle with my talcum powder salt-covered foot to his jello chest, kicking out of the circle. The 8-inch footprint on its chest, where the salt and powder connected, caused it immense pain. I tried to rub it off, only winding up burning its putty fingers. It tried to rub it off, but only burned its putty fingers. I shoved the picture in its mouth-head face. Answer my boon, I growled at it. They took too long and the circle was broken, it said, opening and closing its mouth-head in pain. It took too long, I said, genuinely surprised and angered. It took too long for what? Did they not perform the ritual correctly? Yes, they performed it correctly, but there was a slight smudge in their salt circle, nearly broken. It hissed out, its jello chest heaving as it tried to get me off. Nearly broken, I said. You killed them for a nearly broken circle? Not an actual broken circle, and because they took too long for... to ask their boon. They argued and bickered over who they had not planned it out for. They were bored when they did it. Bored, it said. Bored when they summoned me and did it as a prank. Bored, took too long, nearly broke in circle. I giggled as I realized what it was saying. They had done nothing wrong and died for it anyway. I backed off it, looking at the picture of my lost friend. What exactly do you have that is so important? Time on my world works slower than here. Here I age rapidly. I'm immortal in my world. I had no wish to grow older while they bickered. My friend died because a vain, otherworldly demon who couldn't be bothered to wait. I raced over to Ziggy, grabbing a handful of its circle, my fiery amber eyes glowing with rage. I grabbed its mouth head and shoved my fist right into it. I planted the salt, talcum, blood mixture right into its eyes. They sizzled and burned as he tossed me away with sudden strength. My hand began to glow hot. I grabbed some more powder and sizzled off his jello arm. The blinded monstrosity howled in pain. Stop, it cried. The pain. I'm blind. Stop. In my head, all I could picture was this idiot at home looking at itself in whatever passed in a mirror. My friends died because of this asshole. My rage tempered somewhat as I realized I was in control. I would determine its fate. Go home, Ziggy, I said quietly, turning away from the thing. I'll see you in the morning. What? It stated in unimaginable pain, not understanding for a moment, and then it clicked for it. It was obligated to return for the next 7 days and 2 nights. I could sense the fear in it as it looked to the arm that was once there and now was lying on the floor. For the next 7 days, Ziggy returned, and each day Ziggy lost another part of Ziggy. I am normally not this cruel. Not normally. But Ziggy and people like you need to see what happens when you do shit like this. Most of the reason I use Reddit, no sleep, is that assholes like Ziggy do also. And this warning is as much for them as it is for you, the reader, human or not. For you humans, or whatever, curiosity is okay, but placing your life in danger and that of your friends trying to summon Cthulhu or whatever dumbness you think that's cool because you're bored leads to a lot of Emilys. For you things out there using Reddit as a hunting ground, trying to get your next Emily, just know I read no sleep also, and I can be a really petty bitch. I like that story. It's also proof why I should not do a ritual. You have a ritual that requires you to drown in a pool? How do they expect these people to finish rituals if they're trying to kill them the whole time? Yeah, this is a good story. Let me see this one. Lord and Savior Cthulhu. The Church of Cthulhu. I always I called him Chuthlu for the longest time. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if you had like a ritual or there was a ritual out there that required you to drown in a pool. I've seen some crazy shit in rituals. Okay, so then these are hard to read because the way that they're written. The gateway to the mind. I don't know if you watch like there's a oh, what is she? I guess she's like a makeup artist, glam and gore. She did this like thing about LRAD, like using the sound to like fuck with your body. And they have this frequency that is supposed to make you feel really uncomfortable. Um, like when you have headphones on, it's supposed to have you like it's just supposed to mess with you. It's like an 8 hertz frequency, and it really does make you feel weird, especially if you have headphones on and they're like it's really loud. It's like a weird, a weird like rumbly bass feeling. I can't explain it. It feels like you're being smushed almost. A really weird feeling. It's not really binaural sounds, but kind of. It's like it's just a frequency, like a steady frequency. But it's kind of like in a place where you can either hear it or you can't hear it. Like some people hear it, but other people feel it. And they say that like it's a frequency that can cause you to see paranormal things like ghosts. It can cause you to have sometimes panic attacks, things like that, just because it's like an oppressive tone. I know where to find it if you want to hear it. I don't know if you guys want to hear it though. Okay. I promise you that there are no jump scares in this at all. It literally is just a tone. So if you want to, um, if you have headphones on, I'm gonna turn it up gradually. I just don't want anybody to like freak out. It's a weird, weird feeling. Okay, ready? Do you hear it? It's like weird. Makes your head feel weird. And some people can't hear it. I hear it, but I like also feel it more. Yeah, it's like it kind of just like really feels like your head's being smushed almost, or like it's just an oppressive like noise. It's weird.
You heard pops and squeaks out of that, Brian? See, I didn't hear any pops or squeaks. I heard just like whoa, 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 whoa. I heard the pop when I first turned it up, but like it's usually just the drone noise. It's like ooh, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's a freaky noise though. Let me see if I can find another one. They literally have a 12-hour video. Like, who wants to listen to that sound for 12 hours? I've never heard the slowed down underwater sound from NOAA. Do you hear it? I have it turned up.
I'll talk kind of quiet so you can turn your headphones up. It is a weird feeling, right? Like it like literally makes you feel like your head is being squeezed. I can't explain it. Yeah, it's like soothing, but not at the same time.
Like, it literally, it's like, I can't explain it. It makes me think of water for some reason. Is that weird? I don't know why it makes me think of water. I don't have a good enough mic for ASMR. Yeah, like I don't know. It's weird. You mean like the bloop? Let's see. Let me see. Strange. I tried to do the teddy bear's picnic one time in ASMR and I just hated the way I sounded. Unexplained sounds from the deep. 11 strange, mysterious noises. There's the bloop. Glacial ice hitting a shore. Okay. Okay, so let's do some of this stuff so for Brian here. He's talking about like the Navy and stuff when they hear like unexplained noises underneath the ocean. They record them sometimes and sometimes they don't know what they are. The ocean is just such a huge mass of just God knows what down there. And I do remember hearing about the bloop. Um, over the past 70 years, the world's oceans have emerged as a valuable global listening device, first by networks of underwater microphones scanning for enemy submarines during the Cold War, and in more recent decades by scientists studying the ocean and the internal structure of the Earth. One of the most famous and powerful underwater sound events, known as the bloop, was recorded by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in 1977. The bloop event lasted for about 1 minute and rose in frequency from a low rumble.
It was detected by underwater microphones more than 3,000 miles away, and it was much louder than the noises made by a human animal. Do y'all want to hear it? It has a thing here so you can hear it.
It literally blooped. Bloop.
The rough location of the event that caused the bloop is in the sea near the Antarctic Circle, and the NOAA now thinks that the bloop was caused by the sound of massive icebergs calving or splitting from the end of the Arctic glaciers and falling into the sea. Several other distinctive underwater sound events have been identified and named by the NOAA. A weird cooing sound dubbed Julia that was likely caused by an iceberg running into the seafloor. An event known as train because it sounded like train wheels up against a track. The scientists think likely originated in Antarctica's Ross Sea, and the scratchy noise dubbed upsweep, which likely originates in the Pacific and has been picked up by hydrophones seasonally since 1991. So you would think, right, that if the bloop was caused by cracking glaciers, you would think that we would hear that sound more often now because if you think about it, glaciers are splitting more now than they were back in the 90s. So how come we don't have any more recordings of that sound? You would think we would, right? Let's see. Moon music. You would think it happened more frequently. 5 sounds science cannot explain. You know what really freaked me out when it was like a thing on YouTube was when people were hearing those sky sounds or whatever they were. I know that like it's supposed I've heard so many things about those sky sounds that it was some people said that it was fake, other people said that the original was fake, but there are some of those sky sounds that like sound really freaking crazy scary. Yeah, the trumpets, the sky sounds. Those always like just kind of gave me like a chill. I can't imagine hearing that in the sky and just like all around you, like you have no idea where it's coming from. It's just there. That would fuck me up. There's two main things that freak me out. Really dark water, like super dark water where I can't see like my feet. Um, Dark deep water and then space. Space really scares me. Not so much just because of like, space, but like I don't know. It's too unknown. Maybe that's why they both scare me. Like, space is too unknown, and then also, the oceans are too unexplored. Those things just freak me out. Kathleen, you've never heard the sky trumpets before? Yeah, I saw the first video, the one I think they were in Siberia in the forest. But then they say, like, oh, it's they're like, oh, it's skyquakes. And I'm like, truthfully, what the heck is a skyquake though? Like, really?
Lit up the sky last night.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was really loud. I was talking about a meteor. Sky trumpet. It literally sounds like a horn. This is one of the old ones. Damn, I don't know how. See, I'm afraid to like show this on my stream because I don't know how it's gonna go, but we'll see. Stories. Hold on. Nope, you don't want to do that. Here, I'll just show you what they sound like. Yeah, you hear it? The train? I don't even notice it anymore. Okay, look, Kathleen, here they are.
Have a listen to this.
See, I need to like show you the video for it to like make sense, right, Brian? Because I mean, it literally just sounds like a horn if you don't show what it sounds like. Here we go. We're gonna do it like this. Can you see it? The sky sounds or trumpets. Siberia. This is another creepypasta person. Strange sounds coming from the sky. Okay, look. Is this one? Do you hear it? See, that you can't really tell.
Santiago de Chile.
See, I feel like that one could be a car, but just because I don't know like their area.
Bueno.
better one when they're in the forest. They're literally just standing in the forest and they hear it.
Have a listen to this. So what are you hearing? Well, we don't really know. The strange sounds were heard across Terrace, BC early yesterday morning and lasted for about 10 minutes. Speculation about what caused it ranges from the aurora borealis to aliens, or it could just be a prank. But similar sounds have been recorded in other parts of BC and reported in other locations around the world.
Sky trumpets, yo. It's crazy. Absolutely nuts. I don't know, I'm like, when I think of stuff like that, like, I'm not really like, oh, jump straight to like conspiracy theory. Just because like I wasn't there, so I don't know like what exactly it sounded like, but I would definitely think that something was weird if I heard a loud ass like siren noise while I'm just like chilling on my camping vacation, you know? I would think that was a little weird. Most certainly. Yeah, kind of like Siren Head. You know, it's so funny because I live right next door to the to a fire station, and last year, I think it was last year, we had a tornado warning. Like there was a tornado on the ground kind of like in my area, and it was raining really hard outside, I remember, and my alarm on my phone went off. And as soon as it went off, I was just kind of like, it was like tornado in your area, please seek shelter. And of course, you know, you're playing video games, and then a second later, you get that. You kind of don't know what to do with yourself. So I'm like sitting here, like walking around my apartment, trying to put on like some proper shoes, looking for my cats, and then the tornado siren goes off. And it is just the most scariest like wail of a noise. Like it's so long and drony. That mixed with like the rain you hear from the ceiling or hitting the windows, it's like a horrible sound. And then when the lights go out, it's like holy hell. It's a terrifying noise. Oh man. What time is it? It's 1:20. I think we're gonna wrap it up. It's late on a Sunday. Sunday. I'm probably not gonna be streaming tomorrow. Just because the next day after work. So for sure. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thanks for the super chat, Cat. I appreciate it. Aw, Brian, I'm sorry. Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't. If you want to join the Discord, I wanna watch Lake Mungo with you guys. I've seen Lake Mungo before, but I'll start like a movie suggestion thing in the Discord, and we'll see what we get. We'll just sit down and we'll watch a scary movie one night in these weekends. We'll talk about more paranormal stuff. But okay, bye you guys. I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time. I'll let you guys know when I stream next. Probably on yes. Join the Discord, definitely. The link's in the description of this video. Good night.
Queen, tell Elf he sucks when you see him. Everybody should tell Elf he sucks when they see him. But alright guys, I'll see you tomorrow, or not tomorrow. I'll talk to you in Discord. Alright, bye.